Rosenstein claims that the Congress's right for oversight over the Department of Justice and the FBI is extortion and likens it to a shakedown in the mob. Also, the Vegas shooting massacre, there is new footage, body cam footage from that. Also, the Boy Scouts, a long attested foundation of this great country, is officially no more and has forever been changed as of today. Also, universities and cry closets, safe spaces. We'll dive into that. That and much more this morning on the Truth Hour.
Something really wrong is going on.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
I want the truth.
Good Thursday morning to my Truth Hour radio audience. You're with me here today on the Truth Hour. My name is Shane Jameson. I'm coming to you live from Pittsburgh, PA. Home of the Steelers, the Bucks, and the Penguins. Go Penguins. We play again tonight. We need to tighten up. Been watching that series, and they're doing really well. We got Malkin back, but we struggled the last game or two here. We're down 2 in a row. We need to pull it back. Welcome, Kelly. Welcome, Jimmy. Welcome, Lauren. Welcome, Lindsay. Welcome to everybody that's on, guys. Welcome, Jack. Thank you, guys, for being on. Another jam-packed session of the Truth Hour radio program, and I'm going to go ahead and do my initial plug-in here. You know what I'm going to say and what I'm going to ask you to do. Please, at this time, click the share button. I need you guys to do that. You're instrumental in my growth of my base. I need to get out on the second and third generation of Facebook level here with your help. And I appreciate you guys doing that. And if you don't mind, you can also say something in that caption before you share it. If you would like to plug in something that you see relevant, please contact your friends and family on Facebook and promote this show if you don't mind. I do appreciate you guys. You are the reason I'm here every week, and I truly love what I do. You give me sense of purpose here inside of the political arena. Also, within my faith walk with Christ, we also do that every week too. So, like I said, about a 90% political show with 10, 15, 20% of faith. It probably could be argued that should be the other way around, because in life we should be walking and living our faith a majority of the time, all the time, and then our personal and political views and our passions and goals, worldly, should fall underneath that. So, guys, today, jam-packed session. I've got some video here on Tucker Carlson we're going to fly down through. Very good stuff. Tucker's last evening's show is going to be the culmination of about 3/4 of today through different increments. Very rarely does that happen, but Tucker's show last night was phenomenal, and it literally touched on some of the bases that I wanted to pull up and talk about today in depth. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. First out of the gate, Rod Rosenstein has been interviewed, or has not been interviewed. It was basically on a show here a few days back, and he is likening the fact that Congress, the GOP, is pushing for oversight of the DOJ and the Justice Department here and the FBI as some form of extortion, and that for some reason now that there is subpoenas been enforced, no, not yet to be enforced, there's been subpoenas issued for related documents going back to Uranium One, going back to Hillary Clinton's exoneration before an investigation, how this Mueller investigation even got underway, the Carter Page FISA court memos and redactions there, all of that's being requested. And there has been, if you keep up with me at all, and listen to politics in general, if you're a Fox News fan at all, guys, it's clear and present. The deep state in this country, the far left, and the bureaucrats and the establishment within the DOJ and the FBI are living a concerted effort to slow ball and slow walk this stuff out. And the reason they're doing that is they're hoping to get to the midterms. They're hoping to dirty the waters, muddy the waters. They're continually on one side throwing everything they can up against the wall, like the biggest version of, let's throw mud up against the wall and see what sticks type scenario in history, of which none of it is sticking. But in their opinion, as long as they can keep this in the public realm and in the front of the minds of the public, they are doing what they are. They are obstructionist. The Democratic Party in this country is no longer the Democratic Party of my generation, of my parents' generation and before, they are and have sold out their principles, the morals and ethics. There was once upon a time the left in this country that was a moral and responsible left, with some tendencies that weren't moral and ethical and principled, but for the most part they shared a lot of common values of conservatism. That is no longer the case. A majority of the left and the Democrats in this country are redistributionists, they're socialists, they have communist tendencies in a lot of ways. They will sell out principle and truth for a vote, and they do that on a daily basis. It's sad. It truly is, guys. It truly is. And good morning to you, Lindsay. Good morning to you, Jack. And a big woohoo! Good morning back to you, sir. Thank you guys for being on. You truly inspire me every day. Thank you for giving me a platform here to speak some truth as it relates to politics and faith. So anyways, back to Rosenstein. He's been on record stating that basically the fact that constitutionally the way that we have checks and balances in our legal departments and our legal in the law enforcement structure of the higher echelons of this country, be it the DOJ, the FBI, the State Department and such, all the intelligence agencies have a checks and balance. The Congress has oversight. There are certain committees within that have oversight, right? And that's there for a reason. Guys, think about this. We give our highest law enforcement departments in this country a huge responsibility. We give them huge leverage and power over us, and they are elected by us, put into power by us. They have the power to subpoena us. They have the power to drag us in front of a grand jury. They have the power to knock on our front door at 3 a.m., such as they did Paul Manafort. They have a right to raid your attorney's office and literally butcher the attorney-client privilege, such as the case with Michael Cohen, Trump's attorney. They have I say the right. They really don't. When all this is uncovered and disclosed, it's a big joke and it's a witch hunt. But I'm saying currently as it is, they've been given the power to literally raise havoc upon you and the American people, the very people that put them in office. They are accountable to us. They are accountable to us, and there is committees and structure in place to provide oversight and a checks and balance. And documentation has been subpoenaed by this situation and by this organization and these committees within the Congress. And Rosenstein and all the other elements within the corrupt DOJ and the FBI have basically turned their nose up and turned a thumb up to that, and middle finger, actually. It's been subpoenaed. I mean, here's the thing. And then they go into, well, it could be classified, it could be no, it doesn't matter. The same documents that the department, the oversight committees that have oversight authority to keep this in a checks and balance have a right to view the documents without having to subpoena them. Therein lies the atrocity in this. The oversight committees that have been given this power to keep the other powers in check should not be being dictated to by the powers that are needing to be in check. But yet that's what's happening here. And that ought to worry you. That ought to worry you. So here, a few seconds in on Tucker Carlson, we're going to listen to about 3 to 5 minutes, guys, of exactly what's happening here. And we'll go into a little bit further after that, further up in this, and we'll talk about exactly what the left's end game is. Okay. Welcome, Amy. Welcome, Jimmy. Welcome, Victor. Thank you guys for being on. If you find yourself on the Truth Hour, I do this every Thursday from Pittsburgh here live, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please like or share this, culmination of the both. I appreciate you guys. This Political Insight show also with a faith segment championing my walk with Christ and helping you to grow closer to Christ as well. So we'll watch this real quick and be back.
Heard about a new battle between Congress and the Department of Justice. A group of congressional Republicans is demanding that the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein release a series of documents related to the Russia investigation. They say they plan to impeach Rosenstein if he doesn't turn over the information. So far, Rosenstein has defiantly refused to do that. Now, before you tune this out as yet another partisan, arcane debate, the kind that Washington specializes in, hear the details, because it's not that. There's a lot at stake here, far beyond the short-term political advantage of either party. The Russia investigation, as you know, has completely dominated the business of government since the day Trump took office. It's all anyone in Washington can talk or think about. Never mind the potential wars on the horizon in Asia or the Middle East, or the fact our own economy and culture are changing faster than anyone can understand or digest. In D.C., only the Mueller investigation matters. So you may wonder, what is the Mueller investigation? What is it about? What exactly is Mueller investigating? Turns out almost nobody knows, except Rod Rosenstein. He knows, but he won't tell Congress. Last summer, Rosenstein wrote a memo detailing the scope of the independent counsel investigation. Key portions of that memo remain hidden from view. Congress would like to see them and has every right to see them. Our Constitution requires our elected representatives to supervise the Department of Justice. Why is that? Well, so that bureaucrats with massive law enforcement and surveillance powers remain accountable to voters. We give them guns, let them arrest us, send us to prison, allow them to break into our private email accounts, tap our phones. They have a lot of power. In return, they promise not to misuse that power. And if there's any question about their honesty, we get to check. That's what transparency is. Government bureaucrats hate transparency. They'd rather do their work in secret. Secrecy is the shield that protects them from our scrutiny. And not just in this case. Consider the House Intelligence Committee investigation into Russian collusion. It was just completed. It took a year to complete. The final report ran to 253 pages. Yet the rest of us couldn't really read it because key facts were missing. Just how many Trump associates did the Obama administration spy on during the 2016 campaign? It would be nice to know that. Sorry, it's redacted. Is there any actual proof that the Russian government directed hacking of the DNC and John Podesta's Gmail account? Well, if there is, that's been redacted too. Or how about this? The report says that the FBI agents who interviewed Mike Flynn didn't believe he was lying. But wait, Mike Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to those agents, and his life was destroyed as the result. He just sold his house to raise money for his legal defense. So what's going on here? Well, we don't know. That information was redacted. Why were all these redactions made? We don't even know that. We asked, no one would tell us. And then there's the FISA application to spy on Trump campaign aide Carter Page. That hasn't been released either, even though we now have ample reason to believe the application may have been fundamentally illegitimate, based heavily on discredited partisan hearsay, the Steele dossier. Jim Comey denies this, of course. He's denied it repeatedly on his book tour. Just the other day, he noted, smiling faintly as he said it, that there's no way to check, really, because it's classified. The joke is on us, except it's not funny. Almost nobody trusts the government anymore, and that's one subject that both sides can agree on. There's only one way to fix that: sunlight. Stop hiding, stop lying, tell us what's really going on. Rod Rosenstein has no intention of doing any of that. In an interview today at the Newseum, Rosenstein compared demands for greater transparency from Congress to a mafia shakedown. Watch.
There have been people who have been making threats privately and publicly against me for quite some time. And I think they should understand by now the Department of Justice is not going to be extorted. We're going to do what's required by the rule of law, and any kind of threats that anybody makes are not going to affect the way we do our job.
Little victim. Extorted? How about accountable? Nobody elected Rod Rosenstein to anything or any of these people. They work for us, supposedly on our behalf. When they won't explain what they're doing or why they're doing it, it is a sure sign, always and everywhere, that they have begun to work against us. That's what it means. Joe DeGeneva is a former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, and he joins us now. It's hard to believe that just happened.
I'm here to prove that Purple Mattress blows memory foam out.
All right. Yeah, so, guys, did y'all listen to that? And there was a huge portion of that video that we wanted to get into, but it's just, I don't want to, I'm constrained for time here. Rosenstein comes out, basically equivalates the fact that, that the certain committees within the Congress for oversight, the fact that they're trying to enforce oversight is somehow extortion. It's not extortion. In fact, it's just the other way around. Welcome, Alicia, to you. Lauren also says, yeah, well then do your job. Exactly. Looks like my cousin Laura might be on. David Guido, thanks guys for being on. If you find yourself here, first timers, this is the Truth Hour radio program. I come to you live every Thursday here in Pittsburgh, PA, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to like or share, and please do if you find some relevance here, guys. I am always trying to grow my base and grow my audience here, and I do appreciate your help. So we're front and center with Rod Rosenstein, the underlying cesspool of what's going on here, and the fact that Rosenstein is calling the House Oversight Committee and all these other agencies that have oversight over the Department of Justice and over the FBI, they're calling that extortion. The fact is the extortion is the fact that the corrupt echelons of the DOJ and the FBI are extorting the American public from truth and not allowing us to get to the bottom of what's going on. It's a national atrocity. It is a dark, dark chapter in this country's highest law enforcement department in this country. And guys, I've been saying this for a long time. When truth be told and all the cards are out on the table, even Comey got his marching orders from somebody. Right? This isn't Comey's baby. This isn't Comey's. He got his marching orders from somebody. And the only person up from that was Loretta Lynch. And the only person up from that was none other than Barack Hussein Obama. Okay? So, they were well aware of what was happening, and in fact, if truth be told, I'm telling you, they should be subpoena. They should subpoena and seize all text messages, and they've got them. I mean, our NSA spies on us currently. Everything that we do, the text I sent the morning, the text I'll send tonight, the phone call I have, the Facebook stuff, the NSA collects all this. It's common knowledge. It's not even questioned anymore. So they could subpoena text messages. They could quarantine those, pull them out for Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, Barack Obama, all of the above, James Comey, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page. I mean, all of these people that they're just dripping stuff out. Guys, the reason they don't is this is the most massive cover-up, if not one of, it is probably the most massive cover-up in U.S. history. It really is. And the ramifications are such that because of today's technology, there is the true ability to shine, the real ability to shine truth into this. And like Tucker said, the greatest disinfectant for corruption and lies and darkness, and this goes into the Bible, is light. You can't mix light and dark, right? Truth and sin, there's the difference. Truth prevails when light shines. Discloses all of the negative, discloses all the corruption, discloses all of the lies, all the sin, all of the corruption that is currently still there. And guys, it's amazing. And and we're going to jump to another quick video. Michael Caputo, which was a former Trump campaign advisor since his left months and months and months ago. This is what the left's endgame is. They decided that they know they don't have anything on Trump. They don't have anything on anybody that's related to Trump. And so what they're going to do is this is a punishment. They know that they can't officially come in and really find a whole lot of anything to charge anybody with other than making them so broke that they finally fall on the sword, such as Michael Flynn did when he pled guilty to something that the FBI agents that interviewed him said that he didn't mislead the FBI at all, right? So you have a high standing person in the government and that served his country, and Mike Flynn, that's brought on board for the Trump campaign and is then investigated fraudulently with knowledge of a conversation and whatever the case may be, and the very agents that interviewed him stated after the fact that he didn't mislead the FBI, yet months later after he's all but broke and has to mortgage his house, he's pleading guilty to lying to the FBI. There's only one reason that happens, because they were going to sit there and squeeze him and squeeze his family until he was literally financially worthless. That's the atrocity here, and this next segment is exactly what that's talking about. We're going to go ahead and show a quick snip. This is Michael Caputo, and he was one of Trump's former campaign advisors, and look at what they did to him.
An advisor to Donald Trump's presidential campaign. He joins us now. Mr. Caputo, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me.
So you've been interviewed by the investigation, the Mueller investigation, is that correct?
Yes, today at noon I spent 3 hours with investigators in the special counsel's office.
What did you learn?
I learned they're still looking at Russian collusion. They're still looking for it. While I wouldn't be asked about charges of obstruction or asked about financial crimes, I was there during the time when they believed that Russian collusion was initiated. That would be the only thing that they would ask me about. That certainly is the only thing we talked about.
That's not the only thing you talked about.
No, that is the only thing we talked about. In my mind, if anybody thinks that Russian collusion is off the table, they haven't visited with the Mueller team.
Was there Russian collusion?
Of course not. I mean, I think that they're looking down the avenues of all the evidence that they're putting together. I'll tell you, they know more about the Trump campaign than anybody that worked there, and they know more about what I did in 2016 than I do myself.
Well, I hope so.
They really do.
They spent a lot of money and a lot of time looking into it.
They have.
So what are they looking at specifically? Like, what did you learn? Where do they think the collusion took place?
I don't really want to interfere with the investigation. I was warned about that.
They warned you not to talk about it.
Well, they warned me to be careful about interfering with
exercising your freedom of speech.
Well,
they're not for that, is that right?
I get that, but my attorneys...
I get that. It's the center of our country.
I get that, but I'm just saying my attorneys also asked me to be careful about this, but I can tell you they're looking
So they're threatening and intimidating you, basically, it sounds like.
I'm not going to be friending them on Facebook today, if that's what you're asking. I don't find them to be very friendly people. What's it like to live in a country
where, having not been charged or convicted of any crime, a prosecutor can threaten you to shut up in public?
It's not nice, but I can tell you that it's nothing compared to the $125,000 in legal bills that I've stacked up for nothing. It's nothing compared to the death threats that my family and I are getting. It's nothing compared to the piece of a sniper rifle that came in the mail to my wife last month. It's nothing compared to the way that they're trashing my family. What's happening to me and my family is happening to many other people in this investigation, and I'm just a witness. I can't imagine if somebody's a subject or a target what they're going to go through. But I can tell you this.
Wait, can I just back up for one
Sure.
sec? Since you just spoke to the investigators today, when they suggested, in the way that the mafia suggests, maybe you shouldn't do that. What do you think the penalty would be if you ignored that suggestion?
I don't think there would be any penalty, but I think I might be called back for a little visit. And every time I come to Washington for this bogus investigation, whether it's the Senate, the House, or whatever, I get to pay another $20, $25 grand.
So they just bankrupt you. That's no big deal.
Not just me. I think other people too. I mean, a tin cup isn't a good look, but I've had to open a GoFundMe page. I mean, this is. I certainly didn't sign up for this when I went to work for the Trump campaign, and I will never, ever work on another Republican campaign for as long as I live. I mean, and I think that's part of this, Tucker. I think this is a punishment strategy. I think they want to destroy the president. They want to destroy his family. They want to destroy his businesses. They want to destroy his friends so that no billionaire in, let's say, 15 years wakes up and tells his wife, you know what, the country's broken and only I can fix it. His wife will say, are you crazy? Did you see what happened to Donald Trump and everybody around him? So that's what this is about.
So they've so intimidated you. And again, they're not charging you with anything. There's no allegation that you committed a crime. But they've so intimidated you that you can't talk about your conversation on this show right now, and you're retiring from campaign politics forever.
I'm never going to work on a Republican campaign again unless somebody legally indemnifies me. Clearly, these lawsuits after the fact are the new Democratic strategy. When you lose, you still win. I don't think anybody should work on a Republican campaign again unless they're legally indemnified. I think if you do.
So, yeah. Wow. This is just an underling, right? This gentleman, this Michael Caputo, this former campaign advisor, hardworking American man with his family, hardworking man here that just wanted to be a part of this campaign, gets brought on, and this is the true story here. This is the left's endgame, and like he stated, this is a punishment scenario. This is a punishment strategy. Knowing in advance that these people have first of all, they know in advance that there's no collusion. First of all, they know in advance there was no crimes. In fact, the investigation was started without a crime. How do you start an investigation without being predicated with a crime? How do you have a special counsel in an investigation started without so much as a crime being committed? Okay? So it's a joke. So they knew in advance that none of this happened. So what their strategy was, we don't have anything, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag every Tom, Dick, and Harry in front of this investigative panel, and knowing every time that they do, they're going to have to drop, $25, $50, $75, $100 grand to defend themselves. That's the strategy of the left. It's a punishment strategy, in so much as, like he stated, Well, even when they lose, they win. In other words, okay, so you might have won the presidency. We're fixing to make you and your campaign and everybody that had a single thing to do with your campaign miserable for the next 6, 8, 10 months, a year to 18 months. And we're going to do so to a point where we're going to drag everybody that matters in your campaign and in your administration through the court system and through panels and through investigations. We're going to threaten them that they can't say anything. We're going to threaten them that their First Amendment rights are useless, and we're going to, every time that we think that they raise their head up like whack-a-mole, we're going to call them back in front of this panel where they know they're going to have to lawyer up again and pay another 25 to 50 grand. This individual, this Michael Caputo, is what the real story is. The left, Bob Mueller's team, the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, the DNC, they don't have nothing in this, and the only game they're playing is the only card they're playing is they are obstructing and they are destroying people's lives. And they're willfully doing it. They did it with Mike Flynn. They did it with Papadopoulos. They did it with Paul Manafort. They're doing it with Michael Cohen. They went in and butchered the attorney-client privilege in this country, which is considered sacred, all but sacred and paramount in this country, that you at least have safety between you and your counsel. Your legal counsel is never infringed upon. When Robert Mueller referred that to another court that then issued a warrant to go and knock down 3 doors on Michael Cohen, I think his personal residence, a new residence that was being built, and 2 offices, one of which was in Trump Towers, the attorney-client privilege in this country will never be the same. If you don't have safety between you and your attorney, you don't have safety at all. I mean, one could argue if you don't have safety with your family, but you don't. The attorney-client privilege is the highest level of sanctity, with having, a safe place to turn, privacy. And Manafort, and Mueller just butchered that and didn't even care. Therein lies the problem, and Michael Caputo is one of many and countless. Guys, look at all the people that are leaving the Trump administration. Good, hardcore, quality conservatives that are pushing his agenda, getting stuff done. Why are they leaving? A variety of reasons, but one of the very most is the exposure. They're doing damage control to minimize their exposure against this Mueller witch hunt. That's exactly what they're doing. And honestly, can you blame them? Because here's the thing. They know this. The government knows this. You can all but barely maintain against a fight against that, even if you know you're in the right. It doesn't matter if you're in the right. In this country, if you're accused of something brought before the courts, brought before the U.S. government, you got to defend yourself. That costs money. You have to be there to litigate this. It costs money. You can be as right as the right can be. It doesn't matter. You have to lawyer up. They know this, and they're using that. And they're like, we don't have nothing on you. We're going to send you to the poorhouse if you try to fight us. We're going to send you to the poorhouse if you're right, if you're wrong, or if you're anything in between. Good morning to you, Jaime. Welcome, sir. Robin, I saw you were on earlier. My Aunt Ellen out there in Lubbock, Texas. I wonder if the wind's blowing like it always is in the panhandle of Texas. Crazy out there. I actually sent a piece on Facebook the other day, and I think I tagged you in it, Aunt Ellen. And it had a picture of, like Farmer Joe, like, Green Acres is the place to be. And it had like these people stood up and like West Texas wind blowing through their mouth, and it was all blowed up, right? And their mouth is all open because the wind's blowing. And that's all it does in West Texas. I grew up there. So, love my family that lives there. My daughter, my son-in-law live in El Paso. Love them to death. My granddaughter. My aunt lives in Lubbock there, and love them to death. Can't stand the place, though. Love Texas. Can't stand the place. West Texas, they could redraw the map of Texas, in my opinion, because, I can't stand... I love the people of West Texas. In fact, salt of the earth. If you can live in West Texas, you can live through anything. If you can live with red dirt blowing into your face 24/7, getting in every nook and cranny of your body, getting into every nook and cranny of every possession you own, living with red dirt sunsets and red dirt sunrises, and the greatest sense of lawn ornaments and visual stimulation in West Texas is maybe a 3-foot mesquite bush. If you can live with that, by gosh, you can live through anything. There's Man Ellen there. Yes, it is. And so little bit of humor there, but there is some sternness there. I will never move back to West Texas. You couldn't pay me enough money. So love the Northeast, guys. Hills, water, trees, 4 seasons. Embrace it, love it. So yeah, what a joke here. So they're butchering people that even want to stand up, even didn't have nothing to do. This poor guy is just a family guy. He's raising his family and his kids, paying his bills, going about his day. They launch their plan. They pull this dragnet out onto everybody and anybody that's got anything to do with anything, and that's exactly what they do. Knowing that they didn't have nothing to do with anything, knowing that there had anything to do with anyways, because this is predicated on a lie. It's predicated on a joke. Yet they're going to bankrupt people doing this, guys. That's what they're doing. That's their whole end game. And what they're doing is they're making the Trump brand and the Trump administration so toxic, regardless if it's true or not. And it isn't true, but regardless, that if you want to stay on and work with the Trump campaign, if you want to stay on and champion conservatism in this country and be a part of that administration, the left is going to say, we're going to leave you in such financial tatters that you're going to reconsider and you'll never do it again. And that's an atrocity. Guys, with the sake of time, and we're going to scoot along here, I've made my mind up here last 2 or 3 shows. I'm going to make sure and stay on point, stay incremental with my show so that we get through everything that I'm wanting to talk about. And I appreciate you guys. Like and share my page. Aunt Ellen, you're on there right now. I love you to death. If you don't hit the share button, I won't send you a Christmas card this year. Do you hear me? Way out there in West Texas? Hit the share button right now. I love you to death. You best do it. I will send you a card complaining of the fact that you didn't. Okay. Moving on. Another increment here on the same episode of Tucker Carlson we're going to look into, guys. I haven't touched base on this in a number of months. It's kind of fallen off to the wayside. The Vegas shooting massacre, guys, is still huge. There are still tons of unknowns. I am still one of the ones that thinks that this is not on the up and up. I personally do not believe Stephen Paddock, a lone gunman, smuggled 10 or 15 or 20 high-powered guns with bump stocks on them with thousands of rounds into that hotel and pulled this off all by himself. Now, was he one that was acting in that? He might have been one, but he was one of either many that were shooting, or this is a cover-up for a gun sting gone wrong. Maybe he was even working. I've even floated this in months past. I think he could have been working for the FBI. This could have been a drug sting. I mean, guys, the FBI under Eric Holder, what about Fast and Furious? People forget that. They were allowing border town gun stores to allow guns to be purchased and smuggled back across the Mexican border, all in an attempt to show a correlation between that to further butcher the Second Amendment and to take gun rights away from people for ARs and AKs. Okay? So if Obama's, Eric Holder's Department of Justice was doing that, you don't think that maybe some remnants or holdovers from that and the FBI couldn't have been involved in something where there could have been a huge drug sting? Funny how this guy doesn't have a background. There was no social footprint, right? He was, quote-unquote, a real estate investor and a high-stakes gambler. That's the only thing that was ever said. There's a lot of unknowns here. They've found no political motive. They've found no motive, in fact. The guy didn't exist prior to that day, basically. You know who falls under categories like that? I'll tell you who. FBI informants. People that work for the FBI in various capacities and use fronts like shell companies and use fronts such as real estate investor and high-stakes gambler. That's who. And the video we're about to show you, and I'm not really a conspiracy theorist. I'm a factual-based person. The narrative that's been pushed by that sheriff's department in Vegas is a joke. Thousands of rounds fired, and here in a minute you're fixing to see the first version of body cam footage ever shown as they breach his door and go into this apartment. Now, mind you, this is minutes after he supposedly unloaded thousands of rounds with multiple weapons, of which in the initial phase most of the photos had shown, and documentation and still photos had shown, hundreds, if not thousands, of shell casings all over the floor. Okay? Now, the footage you see here, I'm fixing to show you in just a second. I'm not a conspiracy theorist in this, but I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm Stephen Paddock. Before I shot myself and killed myself, I just opened up with 6 or 8 or 10 ARs with bump stocks on them. I unloaded thousands of rounds into a concert, killed dozens of people, unloaded that with the muzzle just inside the room, if not just outside, if not fully back inside and recessed inside the room. I unloaded all this. All of the shells came out inside the room. Then how do you explain this footage, what we're fixing to see, where the first responders, minutes after this guy offs himself, minutes after he quit firing into this crowd and killing dozens, and then just a few minutes or a minute or two after that, he offs himself. This is a fresh crime scene. Mind you, thousands of rounds fired through a high-capacity gun, multiple guns. How do you have clear, visible footage of the crime scene? Why isn't this fogged up just like it would be in a bar room after 1,500 people smoked a cigarette? Yet, there's clear footage, and when they're sweeping right to left, their spotlights and their flashlights really don't show a fog or a haze. Are you kidding me? Take a look at this, and we'll be right back.
American history in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Now Vegas police have finally today released body cam footage from that night. The newly released tapes include footage of police walking through Paddock's hotel room, some of them walking past the hotel food cart that he used to monitor the hallway. Chad Jenkins is a former FBI special agent. He joins us tonight for Perspective. Chad, thanks for coming on. Why now, and what does this mean?
Well, Tucker, that's a great question. We don't know why it has taken this long. I know it went through the court system, and the courts were very quick to go ahead and tell the police department that they had to release the information. I think where I'm concerned is we're seeing this trend throughout local, state, federal government, where there's a moral superiority of our government thinking that they can limit the American people what they're entitled to view and not to view, and that's really not to the police department's purview to make that decision.
But here you have what they're saying is a single shooter crime in which the perpetrator is dead. So what could possibly be the justification for keeping anything secret in an investigation whose outcome is already known?
You're absolutely right. And I think in this specific instance, we see that being exploited by our government, and we see that across the board. Even from my former FBI days, some of the classification, I think it's nonsense to have all of this classification, and then what that limits is the truth being known for the American public. And we'll never see the truth in all of the information that the American public should be privy to.
Of course, and it gives rise to suspicion and to alternative theories of the case, and it makes people dislike and distrust their government. Do we have any sense of motive here? I mean, people don't do things like this for no reason. Do we know why he did?
Well, Sheriff Lombardo, he keeps on referencing that the release of this footage will go ahead and could further traumatize the victims and the families of the fallen on October 1st. I understand that. I can see from that vantage point that releasing this footage, the body cam footage, could cause further triggers, significant triggers for the victims and for the fallen family, for the family members of the fallen. But however, you know, I'm a combat veteran who's experienced multiple combat traumas, and actually one of my traumas that I did have the ability to view the footage helped in my closure after reviewing that video footage. It helped in the healing process. So it's not up to our government to make that decision. It's up to the individual person. I'm not saying it will happen in every case, but it could help in the closure of this horrific event and allow for them to make the decision if they want to view it or not to view it.
You know what causes trauma and inhibits closure is the suspicion that people are lying to you and that you don't really know what happened and why. And that's where we are now, unfortunately. Thanks for joining us, Chad. I appreciate it. Nice to talk to you.
You as well, Tucker.
Well, all right, guys. So, oh my gosh. I've been front and center in this investigation for a long time. In trying to, float theories, float, practicality, float whatever the case may be. And exactly, Lauren, where's all the brass? And here's where I want to go with this. They come out of this investigation just hours or days after all this had happened, and they had still photos. Do you guys remember this? Had still photos of Paddock dead on the ground. Gunshot wound to the head, pistol or gun laying in different areas. That was all questioned. Hundreds, if not thousands, of shell casings all over the ground in that area. Different photos of the windows that were blowed out, different photos of the hotel room in general. You fast forward this many months, and they finally released body cam footage, supposedly of the first instances that people walked into this room, law enforcement's first entrance, like I said earlier, minutes after, he shot 58 people, shot hundreds of people, of which killed 58. And then within a minute or two of that, or minutes of that, offed himself, supposedly, after he had unloaded thousands of rounds into a concert crowd, and then these people, and then the law enforcement and the sheriff's department breach the room, and this is what they find? I didn't see a single shell casing. Did you guys notice anything in that body sweep? Did you guys notice anything in that body cam sweep footage where they're going through every room there, and they even went up to the windows where they pulled back the curtains, and that was one of the sniper nest's windows, and then there was another window that was shot out of? Where's all the shell casings? Where's all the evidence there? And this live footage. In fact, where was Stephen Paddock's body? Why didn't we see that? And then here's the number one clue, guys. I've been in, back in my heyday, I've been in a bar before. I mean, think of any room where any kind of something is being injected into that closed environment, such as smoke or exhaust or gunshot residue or powder or, smoke. Guys, this guy used 6 or 8 ARs with bump stocks on them, unloaded thousands of rounds, and you mean to tell me that these guys walk in and they couldn't even see, and they shouldn't have been able to see their hand in front of their face? There's no way this room aired out in time. Where were all the shells? Where was all the smoke? Where is everything that should have been part of this crime scene to add into the fact that they're saying that Paddock is the one that did this, and that these ARs that were planted, I say planted, I just honestly don't believe that that's exactly what happened. I honestly don't. I think this was an FBI sting gone bad. I think he was there to try to, I don't know. There's been even talk, there's been people on Tucker Carlson that said that there could have been an ISIS element to this, that there was a sting going on with the FBI to catch ISIS purchasing weapons here in this country, and it could have went down, it could have went wrong, and they killed Paddock and unloaded on the crowd and then escaped. Let me ask you this, where is the security footage from the hallways? All of the security footage. Guess what we've been released? What's been released to the public? The only thing that's been released to the public of that hotel security footage is bits and snips and pieces of Paddock coming and going in various parts of that hotel. Okay? Right? He was in the bar. He was in the foyer. He was downstairs. They even showed him coming up in a security elevator, which they're now saying that he smuggled all of these guns up through some kind of a back door, a back kind of a commercial type elevator. Okay? I can buy into that, but whatever. Okay, here's another thing. Where's all the eyewitness accounts for all the rooms that were next to his? Here's one. How about every floor has dozens of rooms? Why don't we have security footage of him walking down the hallways? Where are the security footage of the very instance of the shooting? The only security footage of the hallways that we have is what's just been released, and that's of the few law enforcement officers that were creeping down the hallway to his room. Where's all the other customers that are fleeing in panic? Where's all the other tenants and the people in the rooms down the hallways of that whole floor that are supposedly being evacuated? Why haven't they come forward and had any interviews? Let me tell you why. Because I don't think there was anybody else on that floor. I honestly don't believe there was anybody else on that floor. I honestly believe that whole floor was booked. And I've listened to some experts talk about this. If you're going to do an FBI sting and they do protocol, they're not going to have anybody on that floor. They're going to block it off. They're going to cordon it off. And you block it and cordon it off by no access to that floor except by specified personnel of the hotel. And though the security footage was either turned off or it's been obtained and they don't want to show it. Because, guys, the way they want you to believe this is that this was just a normal guy that showed up. He's a high roller. He goes into this club. He goes in and he's been there for a number of days. He smuggles dozens of weapons, of ARs with bump stocks, and thousands of rounds into his room, all under the likelihood that he's fixing to take out, a country concert. That's what they want you to believe. Yet where's all the security footage? Where's it all at? Where's the smoke in the room? Where's all the thousands of rounds on the floor whenever they just showed the live body cam? Lauren's got a great point. And Jack too. No smoke detectors going. Exactly. Great. Another point. Didn't think of that, Jack. No smoke detectors going off. Hotels have them strobe lights that flash whenever there's something going off. Why wasn't all that happening? And then you go back to the guy that was actually shot, supposedly, right? Did you see him in that body sweep footage? He was just a security guard that was there that was supposedly the first encounter of Stephen Paddock. That supposedly, the official report is, he was shot through the door by Paddock before he offed himself. Where was he at? Why didn't they show security footage of him or body cam footage of the sheriff's department and the law enforcement coming down the hallway before they entered the room? It's a joke, guys. It's all a joke. And I'm telling you, the farther this goes along, the more questions I have and the more stink this has. So, just amazing. It's amazing. These families that were butchered and killed are owed better than this. And this sheriff's department, in conjunction with the FBI, is covering up one of the biggest massacre in this country to date. Right, and Lauren says they would have pulled him out of the way before they entered. Exactly. Yet they didn't show him there. And there's a whole other story about that. He supposedly encountered the gunman, was shot through the door, took a life-threatening gunshot or multiple shots to his leg. He's nowhere to be found. He's in fact then shown within a matter of hours or a couple of days or something of this massacre. He's gone. I forget his name, but he's gone. He's nowhere to be found. He's back across the border, allowed to go back across the border for a day or two, and then he's miraculously back. And then guess where he winds up? On the Ellen DeGeneres show. It's the biggest cover-up I've ever seen, guys. You show me all of the footage. You show me all the hallway footage. You show me all of the. You show me all the bookings. You show me the listings for all the tenants that were on that floor that day. Show me their names. Show me the time they checked in. Show me the times they checked out. Give me their names. Give me their times of checking in and out. And you proved to me that there was a single soul on that floor the day that this happened. Why hasn't a single one of them, if there was, and this is an amazingly big and well-known hotel, why wasn't there a single person come forward and say that they were in room so-and-so next to that, or down the hall 4 doors down, or down the hall 10 doors down, or right across the hall? Where is the people that were supposedly this was a fully booked room, a fully booked floor? Yet we have no security footage of anybody fleeing. We have no transcripts of anybody that was interviewed on that floor. Why not? Where are they at? They don't exist, or they've been threatened with their life to shut up. And to me, I don't buy any of that either. I'm telling you, there wasn't anybody else on this floor. I'm telling you, there wasn't nobody else on this floor. So, still yet to be determined, guys, on this. I'll keep you up to speed on this. Tucker does a good job of now it's just every so often that stuff comes out. But guys, it's the biggest cover-up. And all they've been saying, all the pundits that go against this are saying, all these conspiracies are saying that the reason they're not showing all of the security footage is because it's going to show legal liability on the hotel that they didn't respond fast enough to the 911 calls and into the shots being fired. I say that's the cover-up story. I say that's not what that will prove. The footage won't prove that their lack of attentiveness and what do you call that, expediency is reporting to this. It's going to show the fact that none of that played into it, that this wasn't anything, that it was a floor that was vacant except for Paddock's room, and that there was something going on in this room that's much bigger than what's being disclosed. I'm telling you that right now. I don't think this man did this on his own. I think this was something that went down wrong, and I think it's something that will be massive if it ever gets uncovered fully and we don't get it buried. And hopefully with Trump in office and some of this cleaning out of the gutting of this swamp and all the upper echelons of the DOJ and the FBI, I'm telling you guys, this massive investigation against Trump and this swamp thing and this witch hunt against him to get him out of the office is because there are so many stories like this in our country. There are, unfortunately, a lot of cover-ups. There are, unfortunately, a lot of cover-ups and tragedies that we far too often don't get told about. And I think Trump's he's representing the truth in this, and he represents a true and clear and present danger to the D.C. swamp, and they want to get him out of there before anything else is uncovered. I firmly believe that. Moving on, the Boy Scouts of 100-plus years. I don't know how long they've been instituted in this great country. I was a Boy Scout. My brother Clint and me were Boy Scouts in Big Spring, Texas, back in the 70s and 80s at various points in our youth. They are no longer, I think we've got a picture. No, 2240, we got it scheduled here on the increment on Tucker Carlson. Yet again, he's coming through. Let's watch it.
Good morning, and the Boy Scouts are gone. That happened this morning. The venerable institution is changing its name to be gender neutral. Of course, we'll tell you why. Stay tuned. Of American life, but today they're gone. They disappeared. The Boy Scouts of America announced it'll be changing its name to Scouts BSA to reflect its decision last fall to admit girls into the program. Girl Scouts, I don't think, are admitting boys. The organization is also launching a new ad campaign intended to appeal to both sexes. The tagline is "Scout Me In," which maybe not surprisingly sounds like one of Hillary Clinton's many campaign slogans. Author and columnist Mark Steyn joins us tonight for a post-mortem on the death of an American institution. This feels, Mark, kind of like a watershed moment. Maybe I'm overstating its importance.
I don't think you are, Tucker. One of the interesting things is that Boy Scouts were so universally presumed to be good that the very name became a synonym for being the good guy.
That's right.
2 years ago, the first time any of us had heard of James Comey, 90% of columnists and commentators said, oh, James Comey is renowned in Washington as a Boy Scout. That's what it meant, the good guy. And the genius of the left is that in Nothing Flat, they turned the good guys into the bad guys. I remember going to the Democrat convention in Los Angeles in the year 2000, and some scouts came out bearing the flag, and the Democrats on the floor booed. And I thought, my God, these guys are crazy. They're booing Boy Scouts. Well, shortly after the decision in the 90s not to have gay scoutmasters, they got kicked out of church halls. Companies like Disney said that their employees could no longer give the charitable donation through Disney to the Boy Scouts. Basically, the good guys were turned into the bad guys.
All right, guys, we're going to cut in just a little bit here because we're running short of time. Yeah, I mean, Mark Steyn's there with Tucker Carlson going through the particulars, but I was a scout, Cub Scout. Can't really remember how far up the echelons there I worked myself, up the chain of command there in the scout organization, but I remember it being a very well reputable organization. Youth looked forward to having that. A lot of the fathers that were part of that. My dad promoted a little bit when I was a kid there. An integral foundational part of youth in this country for generations has been all but destroyed, in my opinion. I mean, what's next? The LGBT going to get a hold of this? And like they said, they had a situation where they didn't want to have, gay people or lesbians being in part of the Scouts in general or the Girl Scouts, and then there was some people that were let go, and then now all of a sudden, I mean, here you go. Now you got the Boy Scouts. I've called this the demasculization of man in this great country and around the world. Man is no longer being able to be man. We're no longer able to be man, the way God intended us to be. It's a joke. And we're supposed to sacrifice our rights that God gave us, and we're supposed to submit to basically being demasculinized and made more feminine, and we can't be men anymore in this country, and it's sad. And it's unfortunate that the Boy Scouts of America didn't have, but I can understand the weight and the wherewithal of the left to push on an area like this until it's another situation. Lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit after litigation after litigation. Let's drag them through the court system. Let's belittle and berate their name, and let's destroy them. You either fall in line or you're destroyed. That's the left's motto. Well, that's the same thing that's going on here. So I'm sure that they, not to give them an excuse, it doesn't mean it's right or somehow acceptable that they've caved in, but now it's not the Boy Scouts of America. And, like Tucker said there, because they wouldn't accept girls into the Boy Scouts, well, I'm sure that the Girl Scouts wasn't accepting boys. What are we supposed to do then? Dismantle the Girl Scouts? Is it supposed to be neutral gender now? I mean, is that what are we talking about here? Can't we have any gender specificity in this country without stepping over somebody's boundaries or stepping on toes or being, gender sensitive? I'm sorry, guys, but there's man and woman. And I'm surprised this doesn't go a step further. Now, when the LGBT gets a hold of this, now there's these dozens of different gender relational type symbols and names. Just wait till the LGBT and all those people get a hold of this. The fact that they've destroyed the entity as the Boy Scouts is only going to be minuscule. Then all of a sudden they're not going to call it, it's just going to be called the Scouts with some kind of man-made term for gender neutral. It's going to be some stupid symbol that the LGBT comes up with that then they've championed to be, that way they can move forward, not have any pushback, and that they're compliant. What a joke, guys. What a joke. The Boy Scouts are the Boy Scouts. Foundational part of this country for generations. This is the left's push to demasculinize men and to further dilute the specificity that God set into Scripture and breathed into us when we were born, that man is man and woman is woman. There is clear distinctions, and this has huge ramifications into marriage. This has huge ramifications into daily society, has huge ramifications in work, has huge ramifications in the way that we should be conducting our daily lives as a race and as humanity. God gave us one way to live, and man is perverting that and subverting that and diluting that and rejecting that. And it's absolute atrocity. Quickly on to something else here. We've got a few more minutes left. Universities are pushing now to push for sanctuary status in an alarming amount, at an alarming rate, and also for cry closets. Look screen right there. I put this on my Facebook post here a few days or a couple of weeks back. Being a member of the United States Marine Corps, it's hilarious that students in certain are walking out and demanding that their university have sanctuary status, and now instead of just safe spaces, they've taken it a step further. Now they have a right, and certain universities are putting in cry closets. I think I'm in my best friend Dave Deagle's office here at our place of worship. I think I'm not feeling really well. I think I literally want to cut this about 3-4 minutes short. I think I'm feeling like crying right now. So I think I want to go into the nearest closet. Let me see. No, there's not one in here. So I'm getting nervous. I'm getting anxious. I think I want to cry even more. I think that I need some cry time. I think I need a timeout like I do my 4.5-year-old daughter. I think I need to have a timeout. I need a place to reflect. I need nobody to berate me. I don't need anybody to confront me with truth or fact. And I need somewhere to go cry because I'm a baby. That's a joke. This is the cry closet I had in 1992, in June of 1992 in Marine Corps boot camp. Welcome to a cry closet. Get over it. You sit there with drill instructors and they're like, yeah, you got your gas mask on, hands out, and they just walk by and every other recruit jerk the mask off. You ain't got one choice. You're going to cry, and you're going to blow snot out your face for about 35 minutes, and then when they let you out the other side, they're going to they tell you, fly like a swan, don't touch your eyes, fly, don't touch, just keep blowing air in you. And a lot of idiots, a lot of the guys come out, and a bunch of the recruits, idiots, stuck their hands up, started rubbing their eyes. Oh! And it just hurts even worse. That's a cry closet. That's real life. The millennials in this country and the youth in this country are spoiled, and they're overprivileged, and they don't know what real work and real ethics and principles are, and they've had everything handed to them for the most part, and they need to suck it up. What a joke. Yeah, great points there, Jack. Great points, Lauren. So we're running low here on time. A couple more minutes. We're going to do a quick faith segment, guys. 21-year-old D'Ebony Groves was quoted as to be singing "Jesus Loves Me So" in the atrocity of the Waffle House shooting here a couple of weeks back. I found this to be a truly inspiring story, guys. I wanted to bring this in here at the tail end of the show. D'Ebony was one of many victims there, shot and killed that day. Don't have the specs, the exact number of people shot and wounded that day that passed, but she is one. And accounts are that as she's being shot, and as the life is fading from her and her life blood is pouring from her and she's bleeding out, she was recounted as singing, "Jesus Loves Me So." I find that truly amazing, inspiring. I pray that this young lady, was a woman of faith. The fact is she was singing an amazing song, hopefully reflecting on Christ, reflecting on her faith. I hope that she was saved biblically. I pray that It wasn't just a sinner's prayer scenario that is peddled around and taught so often nowadays in the faith discussion. Guys, we're called to be saved in Scripture. We're each called to account. Repentance of our sins, acknowledging that Jesus Christ is the Son of the one and true living God. Then to be buried in those watery graves of baptism, reenacting Christ's crucifixion and resurrection. Coming out of that watery grave, a new child of God, a new creation, and trying to live a Christ-like life. I pray and hope that this young 21-year-old victim that so heartfeltly was singing this song as she's literally dying by the hands of this monster that shot them. I pray that she was a child of God when she passed on to the other side. And one other thing here on the faith segment, I got a pick here. Found this on Facebook. Barack Obama was synonymous for diluting, berating, and all but preventing Christianity to thrive in this country. He did his best to minimize it. He did his best to berate it. He did his best to subject it to scrutiny, while all along at the same time always being there to defend Muslims and their faith, Islam. Screen Ride is a pick that I have. I think it's very, very moving and telling, and it's direct and to the point. Barack Obama has been quoted as saying, America is no longer a Christian nation. He's even went on to say, that in trying to stymie the uproar against Islam and all of the atrocities, terrorism around the world, he was quoted as saying that we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves, that a lot of atrocities in the Crusades and way back in time in history were done in the name of Christianity. That's a crock of crap. And he shouldn't be saying that as the commander-in-chief at the time. He never was a commander-in-chief. He was and will always be known to me as the panderer-in-chief, the apologer-in-chief. And, here you have Trump at the bottom. America is no longer a Christian nation, and Trump's wrong, and he's holding the Bible. It's true. He is probably, along with Reagan, the top two, faith and God champions in their administrations, guys. Praying openly, having his administration that they pray often. And I'm not going to judge Trump's heart. I don't care that we didn't elect him to be a moral-in-chief. We elected him to do exactly what he is doing, and that's commander-in-chief. And he's kicking butt and taking names. And his heart and his conscience between himself and our living God. That's where it's at. I'm not going to judge that, but I know one thing. Even if everything in his heart's fake, he's still bringing back the discussion of God and Christ in this country, and that is a benefit, and that is true. I don't care. I do care about Trump's soul. As another fellow Christian, I do care about his soul. I'm called to care about his soul. But at the end of the day, I could care less about whether or not he is intending to be heartfelt about what he believes and shows that he believes. All I know is the ramifications for the fact that the greatest job in this country and the commander-in-chief of this country, he has a huge world stage, and he is promoting Christ and God, and that's all that matters to me. I think it's amazing. So, out with the old, in with the new. Later Obama, welcome Trump, welcome God back, welcome prayer. We're fighting. We're gonna, we're putting people in the. Kennedy might be out of the Supreme Court. That justice might be retiring. I think he's in his 80s. In step another conservative justice. I guarantee you guys, the next few months or year, it's only going to get better. So. And one last thing here, I got a comedy segment. It's a little snap pick of exactly what it looks like to a Bernie Sanders supporter when he runs into a big, muscled-up biker Trump supporter. Yeah, this is hilarious. Found this on Facebook from a short and quick comedy segment. Yeah, this is the moment when you realize you're no longer on the internet. And this guy turns around face-to-face with a guy that's and I would love to know the dialogue of this. This could be photoshopped. It could be something hilarious, but this is what you get. This is what you get. This guy's wearing a dadgum Bernie Sanders. The only thing that I'd ever own of Bernie Sanders would be some toilet paper. If it had, likenesses of, toilet paper, I'd do that. I don't think I'd own anything like that or have that on me in my person. But so he runs face to face into a Trump supporter that's you can just look at the body language of this guy. He's like, come on, you little weasel. I dare you to spit off something about some socialist tendencies you believe in. That's what he's sitting there doing. It's hilarious. So, guys, I appreciate you. We're at the end of another great session. My audience has been great. Thank you so much. You guys are the reason I'm on here. Please, again, if you haven't liked or shared this, please do so at this time before we sign off. Feel free to reach out to me discreetly if you have any questions, concerns, prayer requests, guys. Facebook message me. You can also email me at truthhourradio@gmail.com. You can also, my cell phone, guys, listed clearly on my profile. You can reach out to me. I'm an open book. Feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to pray for you and yours. Also, if you are interested in trying to pursue and grow closer to Christ and have a relationship with Him, I can provide some information with you for you on that. I can be glad to pray for you in your walk. My goal here is to bring insight and truth as it relates to our daily political walk in this country, but also under the banner of, more importantly, Christianity, faith in Christ, and your salvation. Everything else pales in comparison. It truly does, guys. Yeah, your relationship with Christ is the most important decision you'll ever make, and your soul will find eternity somewhere. The choice is yours. You have a limited time to do that, only while you're breathing, while you're alive, to accept Christ into your heart, to be baptized for the remission of your sins. There's only one way to Christ, and it's through His blood, His Son's blood that died on the cross, through baptism, repentance, living a lifestyle worthy of Christ. So if you need any help with that, guys, I'd love to pray for you. I'd love to be a champion for you, to help you connect the dots with Christ. Whatever the case may be, any topic suggestions, whatever the case may be, we will see you again next week for another jam-packed session of the Truth Hour. Stay real, stay true, and God bless you. See you down the road.